everyone, I hope you've been doing awesome. I am Radhika. Welcome back to DataZard, and today we're going to be solving another interesting Power BI Workout Wednesday challenge, which is around DAX. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. We are at Power BI 2021 Week 19 challenge, and we are going to be creating this visual. Here we have line charts for each country, and then highlighted bits are the minimum and maximum sales for each country. Let's jump into our Power BI report. Let us first start by getting data into Power BI. We need to use the sample data. So I am clicking use sample data, load sample data, and then choosing financials and clicking on transform data. It is mentioned in the challenge that we can also create date table. So first I'm going to check if this data has loaded all right or not. Yes, it has. My column headers look fine and the data looks all right. So what I'm going to do is go to new sources and click on blank query. And then I'm going to click on advanced editor and add the code which I have got from Enterprise DNA website. I will share the link in the description below. So this is the code that can create a date table for us. So clicking on done. Now the data for us is from 2013 to 2014. So I'm going to select dates as 01/01/2013 to 31st of December 2014 and click on invoke. Now my date table has been loaded all right. I will just rename this as date. I will click on close and apply. Now going into model view, I will create the relationship between these two tables. So I will just connect date column from both these tables to create the relationship. And going into the report view, I will just mark this table as date table. As date column and click on save. So now that our date table is loaded, we need to create a few measures. So for that, I am going to go to enter data and create a new table. I will call this key measures and click on load. Once this table is loaded, I will right click and click on new measure to create a new measure. And I will call this sales, which will be equal to sum of the financial, sum of the sales column in the financials table. Now, let us create a table so that I can show you how these measures are evaluated. I will get the date, so month and year. Before that, let's go to the table view, click on date, and let's go to our month and year column and sort this by month and year. Now let's go to report view and we see the table is now ordered properly. And now let us bring in the sales. And I will also bring in country and choose just one country for simplicity. And for that, I will put this in the filter and just choose Canada. So now these are sales for Canada for each respective month and year combination. Now let us create another measure which will give us the minimum sales for Canada across all of these month and year combinations. I will just call it minimum sales and use a minx function. So this is an iterative function which first needs a table. So for table, because I need to remove context from these dates, so I will use all function and give date as the table name and close this bracket. So what this will do is it will remove any context that is coming from any of these date values. And then I will do calculate and give my sales table, which will help in changing the context. So now if I bring sales into this, I can see that all of these values are same. My minimum sales are same. And this minimum value, let's just arrange this. So this minimum sale is actually equal to the minimum sales which occurred in May 2014. Similarly, I will need to find maximum sales. So again, creating a new measure using the same logic, max sales, that will be equal to using maxx function right now. Again, because I need to remove the context from date, so I am giving all date. And then in a calculate function, I will wrap my measure. And now if I bring in max sales in here, This is 3959, which is actually the maximum sales because we have sorted this column by sales in ascending order. So these minimum and maximum sales we are going to use in another function which will be used to highlight the minimum and maximum sales for each country. So to do that, I will create another measure. This is my last measure and I will call this min max sales. So now in here, I can use a switch function to decide whether the sales value is equal to minimum sales, then show its value. If it's maximum value, then show the maximum sales. Otherwise, don't show anything. So let me just write that down. So I'm going to use switch. First argument is true. So if my sales that I'm going to get is equal to my minimum sales, then show minimum sales. Otherwise, if my sales is equal to max sales, then show max sales. If not, then show nothing. So show blank values. When I click on this and let's put this in the table, you see that in May 2014, my sales was equal to the minimum sales. That's why I have a value in this column. And in December 2014, when my sales was equal to max sales, that's why this value is shown. And for the rest of the rows of this column, they are blank because we have stated that the rest of them should be blank. Now that we have all the measures ready, let's put this into our visual. Going into format, let us first change the background. So I'm going to choose this color and reduce the transparency to 0 so that I have a black background. And now I'm going to create my line chart. On x-axis, we need dates, the month and year column. So I will drag and drop the month and year column. On y-axis, we need sales. And on the secondary axis, I will put my min-max measure where I have used the switch function so that I can get the minimum and maximum values of sales. And in small multiples, I will bring the country, bringing country over here so that we can split by all of these countries. My chart is almost ready. We just need to format this a bit. So for formatting, let's first disable the background. So turning off background. In titles, we want the title to be country sales with minimum and maximum labeled. I will just change the font and change the text color and bring this to 18. Now for my x-axis, I will again change the font color to white, change this to 10. Now in the challenge, the date is not used from the date table, instead from the financials table. Now what I will do is I will just replace the date which I have used in my measure max sales from all date. Instead of using the date from the date column, I will use the date from the financials table, and I'm going to do the same for minimum sales. What this will help me do is this will help me skip some of these values so that it is tidier. So now instead of month and year column, I will bring in date from the financials table because that's what we have now used in our all DAX function. So now this looks a little neater. I don't know why this works like that, but this is how it was in the challenge. So I'm just trying to replicate it. Now coming back to formatting, for my y-axis, again values, I will put this to 10, white, and for my title again, I will change the font and change the font color as well. Now for my secondary axis, I don't want these secondary to be visible, so I'm just going to turn the values off and as well as the title. Now for legend, we want it at the top left and we don't want any title. For text, again, we will just change the color to white so that it becomes visible. I also don't want my legend to match color values because I'm going to remove this line which is connecting the minimum and maximum sales because it doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to turn this off. and this will change its color later on when I will decide the color of these markers. Now for small multiples, currently there is a scroll bar, but in the challenge we don't have a scroll bar. Instead, it is two columns and three rows. So that's what I'm going to do here. So as soon as I change the number of rows to three, all my countries become visible. For title, again, I'm going to change the font and change the font color to white and just increase this a tiny bit. Now coming to grid lines, we want the horizontal grid lines, but these are too bright. So I'm going to change this to a little darker color. And for vertical, we don't want these vertical lines. So I'm going to switch this off. For lines, the color looks all right. I will just increase the width a little. And for minimum maximum sales, I will just decrease this width to 0 so that this line is gone. So now I only have one line and that shows the sales across all the different month and year combinations. Now coming to data labels, we want the data labels to be turned on, but not for all of them. So for sales, I want this to be switched off. And for min and max sales, we want this on. And the values should be visible in white color. So I'm going to change the color to white and make it a little big in size. Now coming to markers, we want the markers to be switched on. We don't want marker on sales, so I will select sales series here and turn off the marker. And then I will go to min and max sales measure, and we want the marker type to be a square. And I will just increase the size to a 10 pixel. And for color, I will just choose a yellow color, and this is how it is shown in min and max sales. This is why I switched off match this legend with the line color, because I wanted to show this color over here. One last thing that we need to do for this visual is we need to change this to currency. So I will go to my min and max and change it to a dollar value. Similarly, for my sales, I will change this to dollar value so that it shows me as currency. Now, one last thing for the challenge is to create a text box over here. So I will create a text box and I will just copy paste the values because this is just creating the text box. So it's just about formatting. I will just turn off the background and this is how the final visual looks like. So now we have minimum and maximum sales which are highlighted, and then it shows the trend across all the years for various countries. I hope you found this interesting and have learned a thing or two from this. If you like the content, then please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will see you in my next one.